Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of the Engine Room by Sparkforce. This is the series where we take CMOs from the bridge to the engine room, giving you all the details on how you run things technically, how it actually goes on and what goes on in the engine room on the platforms. Our first guest here today is Frederik, who is partner here at Sparkforce, and today we're going to be talking about what we would do in the first 3 months as a new head of marketing in a scale up. Welcome, Frederik.
Thank you so much.
So, Frederik, let's get right to the chase here. You've been hired in a scale up. You're the new head of marketing, right? So let's set the scene. You don't really have any clue. It's your first day. Walk us through the process of how you would go about it.
All right, so 90 days from nothing to we need some marketing motion going on, and we need to attract some inbound leads, I guess. That's kind of the frame that we're looking at. And I think in that case, there's a lot of foundational work that needs doing. And as we experience here in Sparkforce, most scale-ups, they probably hit some sort of product market fit, and in most cases, it's more chance than anything else. So there's probably a lot of the foundational stuff that needs doing. And more likely than not, there's a lot of scene setting here, right? More likely than not, you see your ICP and your value propositions changing. So going from scale up probably also means going up market, all that stuff. So you would likely start with some of that stuff, right? Revisiting ICP, revisiting value propositions, revisiting messaging, revisiting positioning, all that stuff. So that would definitely be kind of the first thing to go into, right? And that all in my world, that all starts with interviewing customers, and that all starts with understanding customers. So if we want to go into the engine room, as the name aptly suggests, I'm going into the CRM, and then I'm finding out what customers do we successfully close right now. And all the surrounding unit economics, such as days to close, uh, average order value, or ACV, average contract value, average MRR, all that stuff. So I'm figuring out industries, I'm figuring out sizes in terms of employees, I'm figuring out geos, I'm figuring out decision makers and champions. So that's kind of that would be the first step for me. It's going into existing data and then figuring out how well does our current marketing and our current go to market fit to our ICP. So you introduced me to a concept called ACP, I guess, right? Average
Mhm.
customer profile. Um, and do we see a lot of that? And how close are we actually to our ICP? And do we experience that changing? So that's kind of the first step that I would go into. Look at the data, and then existing data, and then seeing if that is still the place we need to go. And that's partly data again, and it's also partly gut feel, right? Do we
Mm.
still believe our product fit this type of customer? And then I would do rounds of interviews with existing customers and with I call it market, which is just who do we want as customers, somebody that's representative of the ICP.
Yeah.
So that's definitely where I'm starting. Um,
What what if when you enter this organization that the C-suite has already told you about the ICP, right? Would you then still go in and question and analyze for yourself? And how would you then go about the potential change management in briefing them on your own findings?
um, so to the first question, I absolutely would, and I definitely would challenge and push back and like understand why, because you know, as agencies, we oftentimes come in as head fractional heads of marketing, and in my previous role, I did a lot of fractional work. And almost all the time I had, I got an ICP and I was told, this is the ICP. And then when I asked why, it was usually something like, well, that's where our competitors are. They must have figured it out. They, there's a reason they're going after them. There's a lot of money over there or whatever, right? So I'm definitely questioning it. And then I'm going into the data, and then what does that data suggest me in terms of the change management? I guess I'm I'm rather ask for forgiveness and permission type of person. So I would definitely, do some air cover and then have some of my marketing go towards this ICP, and then I would do some other stuff that's going to fly a little bit under the radar, and then I'm going to show, well, look, over here we see our like this, the ICP that you said is closing super slow. Here is the ICP that I found and that I can kind of see in my market research that here is some, better potential. We see lower deal cycles, stuff like that. So I think that was the change management that I want to do. I want to lead with results, I think, and then slowly but surely, I'm sure it's gonna go in that direction. So that's kind of the approach that I like to take. It is maybe a little bit confrontational, but that's how I roll, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So continuing with this scenario, right? Let's say it's actually just you right now as the head of marketing. So it's an entirely new department. It's been a sales-led organization before you entered. But you do have a sales team, right? So now that you've defined your ICP based on data in the CRM, what are your next steps here? Are you consulting with sales? Are you going to go into LinkedIn and potentially map out your first audiences?
I'm consulting with sales. I'll probably spend a couple of weeks, maybe even doing some sales, sitting on sales calls, doing my own calls. Even though I fucking hate that, I would definitely be an SDR for a period. I'm pushing a lot to come on, the sales meetings and understand. Okay, so what makes these people tick, right? Because there's got to be something. Like we are at a stage, scale up. There is something, right? I have a sales team, so there's got to be somebody buying, and there's got to be some patterns that I can see. So I'm consulting with my sales team, and I'm asking them, I'm talking to them a lot about what message do I want to go out with? What do they see? What do they experience? Is there any? Can they see any patterns of like, well, when we talk to these people, they're more likely to close when we say this and all that stuff. So that's definitely the next kind of things that I'm doing. And then I'm not opposed to, just giving LinkedIn a go, right? If it makes sense. If I'm able to do, even that's for all the CMOs trying to bridge this knowledge gap, interest-based targeting on Meta is kind of going away, but it's still there for now. So if my audience kind of fits into that, then I'm good with Meta because I have lower CPMs and all that. So I would be happy to kind of start over there if that makes sense for the case that we're talking about. But as soon as it's higher deal values and longer sales cycles and more stakeholders, then I'm going on over to LinkedIn. And what I want to do there is be very niche in my targeting. So I think I would be heading for the champions, right? So I would understand from my sales team what makes the champions tick and who are they typically, and then I would be super small in my marketing budget and
Mm.
target only the champions with only the messaging that I'm getting from my sales team,
Mhm.
and then see if it's a fluke or if it's like scalable or if it's like replicable
Yeah.
in marketing. So that's kind of where or if it needs switching up. Sometimes it does, right? Because demand capture and demand creation messaging needs to be different, even though the value prop is the same. So I'm that's kind of the next steps that I'm taking from there. Trying to get that up and running.
Yeah. Would you utilize your sales team in your digital marketing efforts? So, for example, having them on video, um, potentially utilizing their LinkedIn's to sponsor.
Not necessarily as the first step, no. I
Okay.
think I'm a speed kind of guy. And if I need to create video, it's going to take a little bit longer. I need to find time in everybody's calendar. So I'm probably, again, obviously, depending on the resources that I have available, I'm probably finding a graphic designer off of Fiverr, and then I'm just, putting this value proposition front and center with, decent graphics aside from that, or decent design aside from that, and then I'm just putting my value prop front and center, and then I'm running it to as many people as possible that's fitting my champion profile. Um, if I then start to see something work,
Hmm.
then I'm creating video from that, because I would much rather, because for the price of one video or like time spent price, right? How many single image ads can I create? A lot, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my, and that allows me to test so much more. It allows me to try out so much more, and then that's going to give me a more, it's going to give me a better idea of what actually works, instead of, or what messaging really resonates, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, creating one video, giving that 3 months to run, I would much rather do it the other way around. And then,
So,
as you
okay.
say, going down the road, that's going to
Yeah.
be part of it.
All right. So far, looking into the CRM, benchmarking that data with sales, having the analytical glasses on, consulting with sales based on your findings, right? And then going into the single image ads. So let's say you've set up that initial campaign now for that audience that you've defined. If we were to go further down the engine room, how would that look in practice? How, for example, how many ads? Anything to be mindful of setting up that initial campaign?
Yeah.
Are there any potential other plays that you would look at? So let's
Yeah.
take it from the first one. Yeah.
Okay. So going off the top, let's say we go through the campaign creation process on LinkedIn, right? So I'm not choosing campaign budgets, I'm not choosing campaign objectives, or campaign group budgets and campaign group objectives. Um, I'm creating a campaign, and I'm probably, for this, let's say I'm starting out small and I want to be mindful of my budget. I'm probably choosing website visits as my objective, because I've seen that, historically, as, you know, even though it's going to be like top funnel and like cold layer that we're going after here, I see website visits kind of a good blend of conversion based and reach. So I'm like, that's in a way what I've been seeing lately. Kind of the best objective to go for if I'm strapped for cash, right? So I'm choosing that. Then I'm picking my geographies. Denmark, for example, say that. I would I likely have my target account list that I've uploaded or sent from HubSpot. Um, that's my list of target accounts. Or if I don't have that, I'm doing industry and number of employees as table stakes, as like the least that I'm doing in terms of firmographic targeting. Then when I want to go as narrow as I've been saying I want to, then I'm doing job title targeting, right?
Mm.
Um, if I want to go like all there and say I just want my champions to know this, then I'm going job title targeting. That way, it's giving me so much more control. Aside from, like, instead of doing seniority and um, function, so I'm doing job title targeting. I want head of marketings. I want CMOs. I want, digital marketing manager. I want that stuff. So I'm gonna be super narrow on that. So I'm doing job title targeting. I'm turning off LinkedIn Audience Network. I'm turning off audience expansion. Um, what's coming next? Then I'm doing daily budgets, and then I have my conversion set up, right? So I'm doing. I probably have some soft conversions, but it's not like 60-second on page. It's probably like pricing page view, and it's probably contact page view. And then I have a thank you page view as my main thing, right? That's what
Mm,
I'm optimizing for.
yeah.
Going into the ad creative, I'm a I'm also one of those people that like a lot of variety here. So I probably do like 25 different ads, but I'm doing it. I probably have 5 different variations of the visual design of the ad, and then I have 5 different creative copies. So 5 different ways I'm seeing the value proposition inside of the image, and then I'm running. If this is the case, then I have 25. Then I'm probably running just one type of ad copy for that, because otherwise it's if I'm doing 3, then I have 75 different ads. It's getting out of hand. So
Mm,
so that's probably how I'm splitting it. If I want to switch up, so I'm trying different things on the ad copy. I'm probably doing fewer variations of the creative. Probably do 12 and then 2 ad copy variations. So it's around that, and I want to get up there. I want to, because it is like we're new to marketing. We don't really know what's working. We don't know our demand creation messaging. So I want to test out a lot of different things. So I want to have a big mix, and I want to have a lot of variations to run. So I would ideally go above 20 ads in an ad set or in a campaign. Um, and then I'm making sure that I optimize ads and rotate evenly, right?
hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
for for all the geeks. So that's probably what I'm doing. And then my benchmark, if we want to go into the metrics as well, how I'm looking at this. I am looking at. I have a hierarchy of metrics that I'm looking at. My number one conversion or my number one metric that I like to look at is view conversions, which is somebody has seen my ad on LinkedIn and then afterwards gone into the website and convert on my high intent thing, right? That's my top conversion. That's the view conversion, because that means I left an impression and they actually went back. Then I have click conversions, which is direct response, and that's also why I'm ascribing less value to it, because I think sometimes people just, you've seen it with the ebooks, right? They just click and download and then whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's my second conversion. If I can't say anything about those two and I'm running single image ads, I'm going to click through rates. So I want to see something that's high. Benchmark on LinkedIn is 0.4%. So anything above that is good. Ideally, I would want to be way higher, right? Everybody does, but that's kind of my benchmark as well. If I can't say anything about click-through rates, then I'm on engagement rates. And if I can't say anything about that, then I'm letting it run. I'm not making any decisions at that point.
All right. So in
Yeah.
this ideal scenario, that also means that you are potentially measured on the quantity of M2Ls, but you're not utilizing lead gen forms, right?
No, not at this point. I mean, if there's one time that I would do it, it would be just to get like those quick answers, right? Okay, I'm running a very distinct kind of messaging. I want to see if I can, if it has any relevance to the market and they want to sign up for it, even though I might not get in touch with them. It was still enough for them to click and leave their email. But I wouldn't. It's kind of it's a last resort kind of thing for me. If I'm not seeing anything, then I might update what I'm doing, and then I might have the lead gen ads as something. But I shy away from them as much as possible.
Yeah. Is there anything to say about, let's say that, you're setting up this play on LinkedIn, right? And one thing is obviously to create awareness for the brand that you're working for, but another thing is also to test the messaging, right? So let's say that you've run these ads for 30 days, you're aiming for a frequency maybe above 7, you're monitoring the leading indicators here, right? What happens afterwards? Do you then go back to the website to try and tailor that to what you see fit here in conjunction with potentially sales and product? Do you go into that direction, or what's the
We'll
play?
I think normally I would do it the other way around actually. So I would start with the website. What am I showing on the website? Insofar as the website that actually has some value, right? But I would wanna start with the website and then kind of build my ad copy and creative from that. It's a good point.
Okay.
But that's typically what I want to do. But I also, if like it's, let's say if the website is not where we want it to be and it's not looking, there's not, in near future we're not changing anything to that. Then I'm trying to, leave as much as I can on LinkedIn, right? It's demand gen, dark social, zero click advertising, right? That's some of the buzzwords you can throw around that. But then that's what I want to do. Then I'm happy to spend all 600 characters writing what I want to say. Then I'm happy to, have more text in the creatives
Mm.
and stuff like that. So I would want to do that, and then I would say like optimize for consumption and say as much as possible. And that's also where kind of the website clicks optimization, like technical optimization, comes into play because it's still shown to the people most likely to click. And my thesis on that is like, okay, then it's also optimizing for the people who give the ad the most attention, right? Because if we're just optimizing for reach, then it's just showing. And that
Mm.
has its place, right? If you have enough money, more established brand, all that stuff, then I think that has its place. But for this a little bit more scrappy thing, of like testing out marketing, and we're not ready to go and spend 250K a month, but we're at a lower rate of like maybe 30, 50 or something like that, then I'm trying to do that. And that's why I'm also going for the website click optimization.
Okay. So if we just were to dive into the budget a little bit,
Yeah.
um, what would you say is, and obviously it's depending on audience size, in what locations that you're advertising, but what would you say a good starter budget would be for, let's say, an average scale up with an average ACV, etc.?
Um, well, the higher the ACV, the more likely the lower budget you would need, which is a little bit contradictory. But that would also mean you have a lower audience size, and that would mean you could easily or more easily penetrate the audience. So it actually comes down to penetration, right? How, or frequency, to use LinkedIn terms. How much can I show my ads, right? So what I normally like to do is I like to assess CPMs. So how much does it cost to show to 1,000 people? Then I have my audience size of 50,000. I have and then I what I call an active audience modifier. So normally what you see on LinkedIn is you have your audience size of 50,000. You would expect that between 40 and 50% of those are active. So that means 25 to 20%. Sorry, 25,000 to 20,000, something like that, right? That's kind of where we're at with the number of active in a 50,000. So that's what I'm trying to do. I have a CPM of whatever. It cost me 1,000 to show to 1,000 people. Then I'm spending for a frequency of one. I'm spending 25,000. I want a frequency on 30-day period between 8 and 12. So I'm multiplying. Then
Mm.
it's 25 times 8, right? Which is 200,000. Ideally, right? So that's a way to approach it. That's normally how I like to approach it. That's kind of what I call the bottom up. And then you also have the top down, which is like I have my ACV, I have an allowable CAC payback, which is how many months am I okay with being negative on this customer? I have my CAC payback, and then I have close rates between leads and like leads that come in and customers. Then I know what I can pay for a lead, and then I'm assuming 1% of my clicks become leads or whatever, right? So there's two ways to go about that. If you are going on LinkedIn, as a rule of thumb, I wouldn't go below 50.
Okay. Okay. So let's say that you had 50K in total to spend on a monthly basis. Are you, in your first 3 months, are you only utilizing LinkedIn, or are you also looking at potentially capturing demand on Google Ads?
I think it depends a lot on the category maturity. So if I'm in an established category with many competitors and you know uh, a recognized problem and all that, then yeah, I'm definitely spending some money on Google Ads. And I'm probably starting there because then I'm hitting my targets and I'm capturing some of the brand agnostic demand. Um, I'm probably the classic category buyers, right?
Yeah.
I'm probably spending over there. If I'm in a scale up with a less defined audience, a less defined problem, less defined category, then I'm going all in on creating demand. I'm probably not even doing retargeting on LinkedIn. I'm probably putting everything in the top layer just for that like high frequency.
Okay. Is there anything to be said for potentially doing any sort of marketing, sales operation in terms of the speed to lead? Is that anything you would look at all in the beginning, or is that something for later?
I wouldn't in the first period, I think. Obviously, if we see that you know, an inbound comes in and there is 3 months before or 3 weeks before we contact them, then yeah, sure, I'm doing that. Um, I'm all for the calendar booking thing. So somebody submits a form, they're resubmitted or they're redirected to our thank you page, and there is an embedded HubSpot form or calendar link where you can book with the sales. I'm for that. So that's one thing that I'm probably setting up. But if our speed to lead is decent, then no, I'm not doing that. Because that becomes a later stage problem, right? So I would rather, can we get the inbound demand that we're looking for? Yes. Okay, then we're going down the funnel to fix it. I don't think it makes a lot of sense if we get like 2 inbounds a month to start optimizing the speed to lead, because that's not going to move us a lot, right? I think everybody's hungry at that point anyway. So I would look at like I would move down the buying funnel and optimizing ongoingly, because right now we have as a scale up with no marketing, we have a demand problem. I don't think we have because I guess since we're a scale up, we've closed some funding and all that stuff. So it doesn't seem like we have a sales problem right now. We managed to close that and we managed to do that. So I would say we have a demand problem, and then I would optimize for getting more inbounds, and then starting to look at, okay, where does the if it's not even like it might not, but where does it break then? Like where does the value chain break then, right? That's what I'm
Okay.
looking at.
Is there any type of software you would be looking at in your first 3 months?
um I would look at, I'm obviously a CRM, right? And I think I'm not gonna plug anything, but like HubSpot is a with the marketing pro, then you can go very long, right? That's probably what I'm getting. Uh, Aside from that, there are some free tools that I'm looking at, right? I like something called Get Koala, where like that's just been rolled out. The same functionality has just been rolled out with HubSpot now, buyer intent, just to kind of maybe see, well, okay, we're activating the right accounts on our website, something like that. Like it's the website de-anonymization, or sorry, website visitor de-anonymization stuff, basically, right? So I'm activating my target accounts. If I see a surge in activity, then I can send it to my sales team, if something like that. Aside from that, I don't think so. I think where we're at right now, a lot has to be done manually, and that's fine, because then we'll also learning and we're like understanding much more and much more in depth when we do things manually, right? And we call everybody and we make sure that nothing slips through the cracks, and we're not trying to automate our way out of everything yet, because it doesn't make sense yet. So I'm not spending too much time on something like that. The reason I'm buying something like HubSpot is for so it makes it easier for me to send audiences back and forth and understand like that stuff, target accounts and all that. That's
Okay.
mainly it.
So that that would also be your method for reporting to your C-suite. You wouldn't necessarily go into all the hype of attribution tools. Maybe
Not
you'd
yet.
no.
Not yet. Um, I think at that point we just have to prove that stuff is coming to the website, and I would assume that And the people that hire at marketing now is like, they will also know it takes time. Maybe not always the case. But no, I wouldn't. I think attribution tools becomes very cool and very good when you have several marketing motions going, and um, when you have more inbound every month. But with the case we're talking about right now, we don't have a lot of inbound. So I'm probably not going to go into that. No.
Okay. Any, I think, very fruitful conversation. So what I'm curious about is you have, if you have any sort of final remarks or anything you would include that we haven't already included.
I think when it comes to a case like this, and there's not really, nobody has, what can you say, like sailed the waters before you. It's like it's building while flying, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But I still think, even though it's building while flying, and even though it's completely uncharted territory, and it's completely, we have to switch what we do day by day, there's still a element of um, patience that has to go into this. Because if changing up what we do day by day means that we're targeting new accounts and new geos every week, then we're gonna fail. So we have to, on the macro level, say this is what we're doing, and then be super agile in the short term, and then just try different things. I think that's really the main point to hammer home here, and then don't obsess too much over automating and lead routing and lead scoring, and like don't do lead scoring in general, but lead routing and all that stuff. I wouldn't consider that too much, because like for a long time you're gonna have few inbounds, or hopefully not for a too short time. But there's going to be a point where you don't have to automate everything, because you can easily distribute it manually. So do that. Then you also learn to understand much better the customer, and maybe talk to them, ongoingly. Yeah, and then when shit starts to break because the inbound demand is so high, then you can start to think about how do we really optimize and automate.
All right. So the summary is have patience and don't do too much too early, but do the fundamentals right and scale as you go. Let's have that be the final remarks. Thank you for joining this first episode. And to all the viewers out there, we are going to be going through topics as we go, taking you from A to C in terms of B2B marketing. So if you have any topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to comment and we will go into those. Thank you.